darlings. Happy Thursday. Welcome to the Good Morning Show. I am your host, Dr. Ashanta Wyatt. My super producer, Nyron Sanders, is behind the glass, holding us all the way together this morning. It's Thursday, and as you know, on Thursdays, we have in-depth conversations with our congressman. So I'm excited about talking to him, especially on the heels of this vote that they just had there. The vote was very, very close. It was all of the Dems and maybe one, I believe, one Republican voted against this package that will ultimately cut a whole slew of much needed resources. And so I'm excited to see what the congressman has to say about that. But according to Congressman Jasmine Crockett, the House GOP just voted to cut Medicaid, SNAP benefits, school meals, and housing assistance, all in exchange for giving corporations and billionaires a tax cut, all at the expense of the middle class. And again, that vote was, I believe, 217 to 215. That is every Democrat and one Republican in Congress. So I'm excited really to get some firsthand information from our congressman about what that means for middle class America, what that means for our most vulnerable populations who depend on things such as Medicaid and SNAP and school meals. And so stay tuned for that conversation with our congressman. But you know, when we start the show, y'all, we typically want to start the show with some local news. And I want to talk to y'all about the mayoral race because somebody has entered the chat. There's a contender who has officially filed a statement of organization to run for mayor. And when you file the statement of organization, it allows the campaign to open a bank account, which is done now. They officially have a bank account. And this signals to people that you are absolutely running for the mayoral seat. Well, for, you know, in particular to this race, it signals to people that you're actually officially running for office. And so that person is Judge Arthur Hunter. So as it stands today, we have two people who have officially declared themselves contenders for the mayoral seat. That is Councilwoman Helena Moreno and former Judge Arthur Hunter. I still call him Judge Arthur Hunter. But Judge Arthur Hunter. He also once ran for district attorney when Jason Williams was running for district attorney, but now he's seeking the mayoral seat. So as of today, I got that information very, very late at night. I think I was asleep when I got the message. But when I got up this morning, I saw the message and I'm sharing it with you. So as of today, we have two contenders for the mayoral seat, and that would be Councilwoman Helena Moreno and Judge Arthur Hunter. I know that I hear there was a young lady that I met. I left her card in my car. I just saw it in my car. I cannot remember her name, but I'm going to find it and share it with you because I met her at the New Orleans United Front's monthly meeting, and she also spoke at the meeting. She asked a couple questions. And you know, I that was my first time meeting her, but it was very obvious that there was something going on there. And then I found out at the end of the meeting, she handed me a card, and she's actually also running for mayor. So I'm not certain if you guys know that, but there's three people now that I know about who have publicly declared their interest in the mayoral seat. And forgive me that I do not have her name in the front of my mind, but I will get it for you and share it with you as soon as I put my hands on the card. And maybe I could even look it up and see if it's out there already. But as of today, February 27th, there are three contenders for the mayoral seat. I'm certain there are some other names that are out there, other folk who are contemplating putting their hats in the ring. And we welcome all contenders here. I'm excited to see what's going to happen here. I do know that former interim chief of police Michelle Woodfork has declared her interest for the sheriff's office seat, which is currently held by Sheriff Susan Hudson. I do know that is happening. I'm hearing there's some other contenders there, but I won't share anybody's name until it's made public or unless they're ready to formally declare. And I don't know anybody who has done that as of this moment. But if you do, the number here is 504-582-9422. But as it stands, in as far as I know, the sheriff Susan Hudson is actually going to um, run again for her seat, and I know that former interim chief of police Michelle Woodfork is also vying for the sheriff's office seat. So maybe the elections are shaping up. I'm hoping that our voter populace is paying attention. I hope that we can bring the people out and vote. Um, and more importantly, I hope everybody has their eyes on March the 29th, because March the 29th is an election day. We have four proposed constitutional amendments on the ballot. Early voting starts March 15th. Early voting ends March 22nd. And so please be very, very mindful that that election is coming, and it's coming pretty fast. I'll get our producer to drop the link in the chat, as we try to do each and every day here, so that you'll have access to the proposed constitutional amendments. You'll have them in your hand, full explanation of what your yes vote means and what your no vote means. But we will continue to have people on the show leading up until election day who has the expertise, who can break down each and every proposed constitutional amendment and give you a more in-depth understanding of what your vote means. But in the meantime, I want to, we talk local politics, and in my opinion, the state is still very much local, especially when we are dealing with what I believe is a plan to take over the city of New Orleans. And so I don't know if you missed it. If you did, I'm gonna share it with you. But on our governor's social medias as of late, he is patting himself on the back about creating a Doge department right here in the state of Louisiana. He's talking about cutting waste for the state, but we do know, like, if you're paying attention, that more often than not, when they're trimming fat, so to speak, in this state, education gets hit, healthcare gets hit, and I mean, and taxes are astronomical. And I just, I wonder to what end are we doing this in terms of state leadership. I feel like he's very much trying to vie for a cabinet position. I don't know. I think his name was in the conversation at one point to possibly go to Washington, and I just think that he's doing everything that he can do to put the focus on Louisiana, put the national focus or the White House's focus on the state of Louisiana, because he wants to be. I mean, it almost feels like like we're putting on a show for the current administration, and we're doing so at the expense of the citizens of the state of Louisiana. Because I don't see anything good that's come out of this Department of Governmental Efficiency. As a matter of fact, there are a number of people who have resigned from the department because they're saying they can't align themselves with the demise of the democracy. They can't align themselves with slashing much needed programming and resources from American people. And these are the very people that Elon has handpicked and put in place, who are now saying this isn't what they signed up for. So how could our governor want to mirror that here if it's not even working there? And it won't work here. Because what fat do you have to trim? We at the bottom of everything. What do you have to trim here? You're gonna be cutting into muscles and vital arteries because there's no fat here. We don't have it to cut. Healthcare is dismal here. Education is dismal here. Infrastructure is dismal here. What are you gonna cut? What are you gonna cut? The only thing that you're trying to do is exactly what the the national conversation is, and that is making certain that every tax benefit benefits the wealthy. Every tax cut benefits the wealthy. Because how could you ever think that cutting SNAP benefits and Medicaid and housing is the way to go? But you want to mirror that here. So what do you want? What exactly do you want? We have um, a person over the Department of Health who doesn't even believe in vaccinations, but he'll gladly stick an intravenous needle up his arm to get high. And meanwhile, there's a dead baby in Texas because she got measles and died. We are literally playing with people's lives in this country. But when we continue to frame conversations as if poor people, marginalized people, black people are somehow sucking all of the resources out of the country, and we allow that narrative to be framed so that we can incite us against them mentality, so white folk don't even know they poor, or they don't think they're as poor as black people. White folk don't even know that they lean on those resources a lot more than black folk. But we allow them to frame it that way so the white folk could think it's white poverty against black poverty when we all poor. It's insane. These people eating steak that costs as much as your light bill, but you think people who are on SNAP benefits are sucking the life out of the government, sucking the resources out of the government. Oh, it can't be this $8 million a day that Elon is making. And by the way, there's a sheriff department somewhere that's going to be driving around in Tesla trucks for the sheriff's department. It can't be Elon getting all of these tax breaks and governmental contracts, further enriching himself. He's made billions since this new administration has taken office. So you don't think that's wasteful. You think folk depending on Medicaid to help pay their copay to go see a doctor so they won't die from a preventable illness is sucking the resources out of the lifeline of the government. It's almost insane if it wasn't true. But see, I wish we had a governor that had some sort of oomph to himself, that actually cared about all people and not just the people who look like him. I wish we had a governor like my homegirl out there, and I call her my homegirl. I don't even know this lady. But the energy that she's espousing, that's my kind of people. Because see, she told Trump, she said, if Donald Trump stops federal funding to the state of Maine, we, the people of Maine, will take out federal taxes from all paychecks, and no taxes will be paid to the federal government. See, that's the kind of smoke I like. Because you don't get to threaten me as if the money that funds the federal government is your personal money. It's all taxpayer money. It's so funny. He must think he owns, the Federal Reserve. He like he think he owns Gaza. It's really a mental illness. Somebody needs to get him a psychologist, a psychiatrist. So do they employ those sorts of people at the White House? Because he actually needs a mental health evaluation. All of them do. All of them do. Because I really don't understand how 217 Republicans can vote to take away Medicaid and housing and food from vulnerable people, but you could clap and applaud what Elon Musk is doing while he earns, because y'all think he's earning it. I'm going to use, y'all don't think that he's stealing it. Y'all don't think it's a grift. You think he's earning it. While he steals $8 million a day from our government. 217 of y'all, 217 people who must share one brain. Because brain cells are dying every single day in Washington. Got to be. Gotta be. This would be funny if it wasn't real life. Like, I would laugh at this if it wasn't real. But it's real. And it's going to have real consequences, dire consequences, deadly consequences. People are going to die from the decisions that 217 moronic people made because they're following the lead of their moronic leader. A person who we all know is unfit to serve this country. And it's so crazy because he had his first cabinet meeting. I bet y'all know who led the cabinet meeting. I bet y'all know who was in the room. Standing up in the room, everybody else sitting down like the minions they are. And if you watched it like I watched it, you heard the current president asked his cabinet, the people he chose. He chose these people. He bullied their confirmations through. His cabinet. He told his cabinet members, he said, who in here disagrees with Elon? Because if y'all disagree, we could throw him out right now. That's what he said. And guess what they started doing, y'all? They started clapping. Clapping. These are the people who are in control of our government. They started clapping when their president looked to his wealthy benefactor and said, anybody in here disagree with you, we gonna throw them out. You can't make this up. Good morning, Pop. Welcome to the Good Morning Show.
Good morning, Dr. Wise. Thanks for taking my call.
You're welcome.
First of all, I want to say, what I'm about to say, you're not paying me because you're a poor little girl from the fishing that happen to be educated. So you're not paying me anything. But I wanted to ask you this question. I know your focus and your education is in schools and the children. But I wanted to ask you, do you have a background in journalism and investigative reporter? Because all of what I hear you saying, it sounds like to me that you're not just an educator, but you have a background with journalism and investigative reporter. Am I hitting on the right?
No, Pop, I'm just nosy. I just like
knowing stuff. Lord Jesus.
I don't have a background in anything but education, but I like to know stuff, and when I like to know it, I'm going to go look for it. And so maybe it's the researcher in me, but I'm just nosy.
Boy, I tell you, I
my
don't
mama
know.
Will tell you that. My mama tell me all the time I'm too nosy.
When I think you've gone to a high level, every time I listen to you, Dr. Wise, I say, man, where this young child going? What all this, man? And look like you know everything.
Nah, I just be trying. But Pop, we got to go to break around here because today is Thursday and we have conversations with our congressman.
My call, Dr.
I appreciate you, but I'm going to talk about you after the break, though, so stay listening, all right?
All right, I will.
Appreciate you. All righty. Look, we have to go to break, y'all, but when we come back, we have a treat, as we do each and every Thursday, because we have someone who is intimately involved with what's happening in Washington, and we're going to have conversations with our Congressman Troy Carter right here on the other side of the break. This is WBOK 1230 AM, what New Orleans is talking about all day long.
Hey New Orleans, Tavis Smiley here, inviting you to join me each weekday evening at 7 p.m. right here on WBOK 1230 AM for the Tavis Smiley Show. You can expect great guests and getting the answers you need to know. It's the Tavis Smiley Show on our new home in New Orleans, WBOK 1230 AM.
Tavis Smiley. Ranked number 45 on the Heavy 100 list of the 100 most important radio talk show hosts in America.
Good morning and happy Thursday. I'm Morgan Lentis with WDSU News, and here's a check of today's headlines. The New Orleans City Council will meet today to discuss a number of hot topics. Council members will talk about a 7-story hotel development on Elysian Fields Avenue in the Marigny. That project is raising concerns over the hotel size, which is not typical in that primarily low-rise residential area. They will also discuss rules surrounding short-term rentals in the city and honor Black masking Indians. That meeting is set for 10 a.m. Several big parades are rolling tonight across southeast Louisiana. The Knights of Babylon roll uptown at 5:30 p.m., followed by the Knights of Chaos at 6:15, and then the highly anticipated Crew of Muses at 7. Over in Metairie, the Crew of Symphony will roll at 6:30, followed by the Crew of Atlas at 7. Atlas was rescheduled after heavy rain on Sunday caused many parades to be canceled. And if you are flying out or have family flying in today, expect some carnival fun at the airport. Armstrong International is hosting its annual Crew de Lewis parade for travelers. Airport staff and volunteers parade through the terminal with a brass band. They'll pass out beads and other throws starting at 11 a.m. Then mark your calendars. Tomorrow night, the Zulu Coronation Ball will put on a show of pageantry like no other, and you can watch it all live on MeTV. That's channel 6.2 over the air, 108 for Cox customers, and 185 for Spectrum. And that's a look at today's headlines. I'm Morgan Lentis with WDSU. Have a great day.
Connect with NOLA Public Schools. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and X for the latest updates. Sign up for District Digest, our official newsletter where we share district achievements, celebrate student successes, and keep you informed about our vision of providing a high-quality education. And don't miss our school board meetings. Watch in person or live stream on YouTube. Stay informed. Stay engaged. Visit NOLAPublicSchools.com today. Again, that's NOLAPublicSchools.com.
Attention teachers, the 19th Annual Charter School Teacher Job Fair is Saturday, March 15th from 9 a.m. to noon at Hines Charter School in New Orleans. Dozens of public charter schools seek to hire hundreds of professional educators and school workers. Full-time and part-time positions are available. Bring several resumes and register now. The fair is free. Simply go to gnocollaborative.com to register. Post your resume and review vacancies. Register at gnocollaborative.com today.
Welcome to Liberty Bank and Trust, where your financial journey transforms communities. Since 1972, our customized banking solutions power your dreams and fuel your community growth. Every dollar you invest with us circles back to empower more people, ensuring opportunities for generations. Join us at Liberty Bank. Together, we empower possibility. Visit libertybank.net to start banking with purpose. Liberty Bank. There's freedom here.
Making a difference in the community. WBOK 1230 AM.
Good morning, wake up.
The Good Morning Show.
Good morning.
On WBOK 1230 AM.
Good morning show. Happy Thursday, everybody. If you are just joining us, or if you're a new listener here, each and every Thursday, we have conversations with our congressman, the one and only Troy Carter. He is here this morning with us. Good morning, Congressman. Welcome to the Good Morning Show.
Good morning, Dr. Wyatt. How are you today?
I'm great. How are you? You sound refreshed. You sound up
Well,
and at 'em.
We got a lot going on. Lots of work to be done. Lots of battles to fight. Regret that I missed you last week. We were tied up in a bunch of stuff. A lot of things going on, lots to unpack. Our democracy is at risk, and I say this every time, and I want to continue to thank you and WBOK family for giving us this audience to keep our people aware of what's going on in Washington. We see that this president is trying to control the media now. Taking away certain outlets from being able to cover events on Air Force One or in the White House. Now more than ever, venues like WBOK and the voices of Dr. Wyatt and OT and the entire WBOK family become so important to our listening audience, because as they attempt to thwart democracy, there's also a thought to threaten the free press and to monitor what can be said and how it can be said, and to challenge you if you say something bad about Elon Musk or the president. We must be free to speak truth to power and to challenge this. Otherwise, we'll lose our democracy. So God bless you, Dr. Wyatt. God bless WBOK and all of the incredible listeners out there. Continue to spread the word that we're fighting and we ain't going back.
Listen, and I tell you each and every Thursday, you and I get to engage, that we're grateful that you're there, because we get to have a front row seat each and every Thursday to what's happening in Washington. And prior to you coming on the call, we were discussing the vote that just happened to cut Medicaid and SNAP benefits. Can you talk to us a little bit about that? We heard that it was 217 to 215. One Republican voted with you guys.
Yeah, we had one Republican to recognize and do the right thing. A whole bunch of others that in private quarters recognized that it was the wrong thing to do, but are too afraid to stand up. Afraid that if they go against Elon Musk and President Trump, that they would get unelected and they wouldn't be reelected. And I remind them, you didn't get elected to get reelected. You got elected to do the people's business. And if you do their business, you'll be reelected. And if you're not under some demonic challenge, let it go. That means God has something else for you. But to be afraid, fear is not of God. And they're clearly afraid. And so we, unfortunately, were unsuccessful in blocking these massive cuts. But it isn't over. This was the budget resolution. It still has to go to the Senate, and then it still has to come to our individual committees, where we then will dive into the budget and do battle with blocking these enormous cuts that they want to make nearly $1 trillion in cuts. And if you look at a pie chart, although they keep claiming, oh, we're not going to touch Social Security, we're not going to touch Medicaid, but if you look at a pie chart, and you look at places you can cut, and you say you want $880 billion in cuts, the only place you can get those kind of cuts is to completely dismantle Social Security, Medicaid, Medicare. And we're not going to let it happen. We're going to fight tooth and nail to the bitter end. As I've said before, you've got to keep pressure on our Republican members. You've got to call their offices. You've got to send them text messages. You've got to tweet every day, because every member of the Louisiana delegation, every single one, has people in their districts that will be negatively impacted if these drastic cuts take place. They have to be reminded that although Trump and Musk may mean this to be evil for minorities, black folk, Asian folk, Hispanic folk, or for Democrats, guess what? It doesn't work that way. These cuts don't recognize race. They don't recognize gender. They don't recognize party affiliation. Everyone will be hurt by these crazy cuts. And I am convinced that Elon Musk nor President Trump really cares. Their agenda is to topple our democracy. And these Republican members need to wake up and realize that they're being used as pawns to dismantle our democracy, to dismantle our rule of law, to dismantle the fairness of our judicial system and our checks and balances. I can tell you without fear of contradiction that your member of Congress and the Congressional Black Caucus and the Democratic Caucus, we're going to be working 24/7, pulling double duty to use every tool in our arsenal, be it using the courts, legal procedures, legislative procedures, or the bully pulpit. We are not going to retreat.
Well, again, I'm thankful. I'm certain that a lot of folk in this state are grateful that you're there. And so I just wanted to know firsthand, what does this mean? So do we absolutely have to have, 3, 4 Republicans to vote our way so that we can stop this from happening? Do we? Because we have to have Republican buy-in on the Democratic side to block this, correct?
That's correct. The reality is, when I say our double duty, it's going to be to
in our various committees. As you know, I serve on Energy and Commerce, which is the oldest and one of the most powerful committees in the United States Congress. I'm blessed to have a seat on the committee that is going to do battle with defending Medicaid and Medicare. All those cuts have to come through my committee, and we are going to fight tooth and nail to block every one of those cuts. But we're going to have to, if we did pure math, we can't win because they have the numbers. We're outnumbered in the House, we're outnumbered in the Senate, and of course they have the White House. But because we are going to use sound logic and work on doing as I've asked our listeners to do, put pressure on those Republican members, because these issues not only hurt Democrats, it will hurt their districts. It will hurt their districts in huge ways. Some of Republican members have districts that use Medicaid, Medicare, and SNAP as much as 70% of their constituents. Did you hear me? 70%. Yes. So this notion that these benefits will only hurt Democrats is a ridiculous, failed prospect. And these people have to recognize the people that sent them to Washington need to look them in the eye and say, stand up and represent me. People in Metairie and Jefferson, people in Lake Charles and Shreveport, they need to say, stand up and represent me. They need to remind even the Speaker of the House that in his district, people will hurt if these cuts happen. So while we need 3, I think we can get more than that if they get some intestinal fortitude, if they get the guts to stand up and do the right thing, if they lean on their own strength and the strength of God to do what is right and not have fear of Donald Trump or Elon Musk. If we do these things, we will prevent these cuts.
And so
we've got to keep the pressure on.
Absolutely. And based on the House Republican budget, what does that mean for the state of Louisiana? What does that mean for us here?
Well, let me tell you what it means for us. It means that when you think about the totality of how this impacts the people, that means under the Republican budget cut, 45,000 people who received the Affordable Care Act, their premiums will go up by $690 a year, a 62% increase. Families would face even deeper consequences. For example, a 60-year-old couple with a household income of $85,000 would see their health insurance costs increase by $14,000 per year. That's a 195% increase in premiums. In Louisiana, LEO2, just my district alone, 291,555 people on Medicaid will be at risk of losing their health care. This includes 128,000 children under the age of 19 and 33,000 senior citizens over the age of 65. These extreme Republican budget plans threaten 194,000 people. Just in my district. This is not statewide. This is not the country. This is just in my congressional district. These are people who count on SNAP benefits to put food on their table. This is real. People have to understand this is, as I've often said about Elon Musk, he paid $200 million to help Donald Trump become president, and he bought himself a country. He bought himself an Oval Office. He bought himself a presidency. This is the richest man in the world. This is his newest toy. Except this is not a game. These are people's lives. If you're old enough to remember the Etch-a-Sketch game, where you used the 2 little wheels to make all kinds of designs, and when you messed it up, you just shook it, and it cleaned, and it erased and started over. Well, this is not an Etch-a-Sketch. This is not an experiment. This is not a game. This is the livelihoods of people. This is the livelihood of people who paid into a system for Social Security during the twilight of their lives to be able to draw back on it. This is not a gift from government. This is your money. This is money that was taxed on you and put aside for you when you need it. And now the threat that we're going to take it away? No, it doesn't work that way. But it will happen if we don't remain united. It will happen if we don't stay on top of it. It will happen if we don't fight. And I say this every time, and I'm going to say it again. Elections have consequences. If we vote, this wouldn't have happened. If people had come out and exercised their right to vote, Donald Trump could have never been reelected. If we vote in Louisiana, which is now a ruby red state by its elected officials, but it is a blueberry blue state if we vote.
Yeah, just
our
thinking.
wounds are self-inflicted because we don't come to the ballot.
Yeah.
We don't participate in the process. You got to vote.
Yeah.
These numbers that I've rattled off of the millions of dollars and the millions of people that will be hurt, these are not made for TV numbers. These are real, brothers and sisters. This is our neighbors down the block. This is the person we sit next to on the bus. This is the person we sit next to in church. This is the person we talk to in the barbershop. This is the school teacher that teaches our kids. These are the firemen who save our houses when they're aflame. These are the police officers who are protecting us from villains. These are the truck drivers that deliver our goods. These are the people that are on the river unloading packages that are important to us to get home. This impacts all of us, and this is real. And it's real enough that I'm making a clarion call that we all have to be a part of the solution. I'm going to fight my ass off here in D.C., but I need people to help us by putting pressure on those Republican members to do the right thing. You don't have to do it violently. Please don't do it violently. Just make phone calls. Just send text messages. Just write them letters. Call their offices. Tell them, stand up. Stand up for us too.
And speaking of standing up, what are your viewpoints on this idea that our governor here in the state of Louisiana is talking about a Department of Governmental Efficiency here, talking about this idea of cutting waste here? And when we think about the things that he's talking about cutting, it's no different than what they're trying to do on a national level. These are much needed resources for families who depend on these programs. How do we fight back against that right here in the state of Louisiana while you're doing it in Washington?
We fight the exact same way. You contact all of your state legislators in New Orleans, the Republicans and the Democrats. There are 144 members of the Louisiana legislature, 39 members of the Senate, 105 members of the House. Start getting on the Twitter feed. Start using Blue Sky. Start using Instagram. Start making phone calls. Start showing up at hearings. Go to their offices. Tell them you demand that you push back against what is Project 2025 on the federal level.
Yes.
And now Project 2025 on the state level. It is a very clear formula, and I went throughout the state during the election telling people about Project 2025, I along with many others. And here we are. They're doing exactly what they said. In fact, when someone recently challenged the president, he said, I told you what I was going to do. And what my grandmother used to say, someone shows you they are, believe them. Believe them. Yeah. And here we are. So this notion that they're hiding behind this phrase, waste, fraud, and abuse. Well, we're all against waste, fraud, and abuse. That's not at issue. We're not arguing for waste, fraud, and abuse. We're fighting against your unilateral demolishing of business, of organizations, of agencies, of ways that people do business. We're arguing against the unilateral release of some 20,000 federal employees. Now, watch this. That 20,000, that's just in Louisiana. These are 20,000 hardworking federal employees who work just in Louisiana. The National Finance Center, which I have fought for years to keep in New Orleans East. They process payroll for federal employees all over the country. And watch this. Steve Scalise, the Republican leader, fought with me to save the National Finance Center. Together, we fought to save it, to not have it leave New Orleans, to not have it leave Louisiana, to not cut those jobs and the resources that are right here in our area. But now, everyone's quiet. No one's saying anything about this threat to cut down an already incredibly thin workforce at NFC. See, we have to be strong enough to even call out people that are our friends. And I understand that they're close to Donald Trump, but Donald Trump is wrong. And I'd expect our colleagues to have the intestinal fortitude to even say to their friend, Donald Trump, Mr. President, you are wrong. We cannot cut these people. Mr. President, you are wrong. This workforce is not all built up on waste, fraud, and abuse. We want to get rid of that too. But you can't tell me that 19,000 federal employees that are black, white, Asian, Hispanic, from every part of our state, with every different political affiliation, that they're all rotten?
Yeah, we have
because that's what Mr. Trump wants. That's what Mr. Musk wants to believe. Because Mr. Musk is from South Africa, and he longs for an apartheid situation that he grew up in. You see, his family benefited from apartheid.
Yes.
We're not going back to wearing IDs around our neck. We're not going back to being told when we can come and when we can go. Trump and Musk, which are synonymous, it appears, president and co-president. Elon Musk is not elected to anything. He's not even a citizen. He is a South African with Canadian credentials who longs for the day that we have an apartheid system. He is an unelected person who now has the power of the presidency, but he's had no vetting. There's been no checks and balances on him. He doesn't have to be confirmed by the United States Senate. He was not elected by the people, yet he has the power of the president, and there's an attempt through these cuts that will impact people's lives to, in their theory, to root out waste, fraud, and abuse. But watch this. In the last month that President Trump's been back in office, Elon Musk continues to make billions of dollars.
Yes.
On the federal government. Therein lies your waste, fraud, and abuse. It's the old adage, watch my right hand while my left hand slaps you. It's distraction. It's confusion. Why? Because they're running away with the power and the money.
Well, we have to go to break here. Miss Alicia, please don't hang up. We want to get your thoughts and your conversations with our congressman. If you're just joining us, it is Congressman Troy Carter Thursdays here at WBOK, and we'll have more with the congressman right after the break. This is WBOK 1230 AM, what New Orleans is talking about all day long.
This is your news update for WBOK 1230 AM from WDSU. For all your news and weather, watch WDSU News, New Orleans' leader in live, local, late-breaking news. Today at noon and 4 p.m.
Morning fog again. After that, expect mostly cloudy skies, staying mild with highs in the low to mid-70s. Chance for a passing shower this afternoon, but most of us will stay dry. Lows tonight are in the 40s and the 50s. Then we're staying dry with highs in the upper 60s and low 70s Friday through the weekend. From the WDSU First Warning Weather Center, I'm Raven Richard.
Our daughter Jessie loves playing detective.
A clue.
But since we discovered she has sensitive skin, we've been playing detective too.
We thought the problem was our puppy.
But it was actually our old detergent.
Aha.
So we switched to Tide Free and Gentle. Tide Free and Gentle provides an excellent Tide clean, and it doesn't leave behind irritating residues like dyes or perfumes, so it's gentle on your skin.
Case closed.
If it's got to be clean, it's got to be Tide Free and Gentle.
Are you passionate about community safety and police accountability? Tune in to The Monitor's Mic, where we talk about oversight, policing, and you. Hosted by the Office of Independent Police Monitor, we're here to shine a light on policing issues that matter, from real-time policing updates to in-depth interviews. Get the facts and stay informed. We're breaking down complex issues, highlighting community voices, and holding people behind the badge accountable. Join us for an informative hour every Friday at noon on WBOK. Your city, your police, your show. The Monitor's Mic.
The New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Foundation is the nonprofit organization that owns the New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Festival presented by Shell. With the funds generated from Jazz Fest, the foundation invests in Louisiana communities through economic development, cultural enrichment, and free educational programs. To learn more about the New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Foundation, please visit us at www.jazzandheritage.org.
Good morning, Wake Up.
The Good Morning Show.
Good morning.
On WBOK 1230 AM.
And we are back. Welcome back to the Good Morning Show. As you know, each and every Thursday is Congressman Troy Carter Thursdays, and we have him right here on the line with us. We're going to go to the phone lines. Good morning, Miss Alicia. Welcome to the Good Morning Show. You're on with the Congressman.
Good morning, Congressman. Good morning.
Good morning, Miss Alicia.
A couple of things I want to run through real quick. First off, I'm not understanding. Please explain to me how Elon Musk, with no vetting, no background checks, no security clearance, is allowed to run rampant through our house, check into our personal business and data and information, and he can't be stopped. I don't understand that part. And if I went to come to D.C. to visit you all in your place of business, I'd have to have a background check. Y'all have to check me. So how is he able to just run rapid and nobody do him anything? Number two, how can he, working for the United States, also make money with these contracts? Who's signing the contracts with him where he's making $400 million selling these ugly cars to the United States? What are we going to do with those ugly Tesla trucks in the military? And also, sir, I want to rub it in on Dr. Wise that I had the opportunity to meet her counterpart, Representative Jasmine Crockett. I want to thank you for that opportunity, and I want to dig in one more time to our Jasmine Crockett, Dr. Wyatt. And when I texted her that I met Representative Crockett, she texted me back those letters that I can't say on the radio. Thanks for what you're doing. Keep doing it, and y'all have a good day.
Thank you, Miss Alicia. Yeah, Congressman, she was rubbing it in, and I was.
I invited you too, though.
I know
I invited
you did.
you too.
Listen, it's not your fault. It is all me. I had something to do that required my attention. I was doing something for my son, and I hated to miss it. I really wanted to meet her, Congressman. I appreciate the invite, but you got to set that up for me. You got to get it on the show.
Oh no, listen, I'm already working on it.
Okay.
My team's working her team to get a date.
Okay.
You're going to have a special treat. It's going to be Congressman Carter and Congressman Crockett will join on WBOK for my normal Thursday.
Yes.
But I'm going to share the airwaves with the outstanding member of Congress, Jasmine Crockett.
Not Congressman. Don't get in your feelings when you're not the topic of conversation.
Oh no, listen. I'm going to take a back seat and I'm going to let you have it. Because I love and respect and appreciate the great work that my dear friend Jasmine does. She's an outstanding leader, and I know that the people of Louisiana love her, and I know that you and my dear friend Alicia are waiting to hear from her. That's why I was so excited to surprise you with the introduction.
I know, but the kid, when the kid calls, he's my one and only.
I understand. Look, you got to do that. Look, I was on stage. I tried to call Alicia. I wanted to come up on stage. She said, "No, I don't want to come up there. I'm like, no, I want you to come up here and be with Jasmine.
Oh man, I missed the treat, but you make certain that you line that up for me. I'm telling you, they ain't gonna be able to tell me nothing about you if you could get me to get on the airwaves with her. They gonna.
I tell you, I am teeing it up. We're waiting for a clear Thursday to get our schedule synced together. It is going to happen.
Well, I appreciate.
But to go
that.
back to Alicia's comments, these things are being allowed to happen, Alicia, because we have a president who doesn't respect the Constitution, because the voters didn't vote, and now we don't control the House, the Senate, or the White House. So when we're outvoted, they abandon the rules, and they boast that they control the House, which they do. They control the Senate, which they do. They control the White House, and they do. But now they're boasting that they control the Supreme Court and all the courts. Therein lies one of the most important parts of our checks and balances, to keep them from doing what we believe to be illegal and unethical, to keep this unvetted, unelected, untested billionaire, South African billionaire, from turning our country upside down. That's why we have to put pressure on some of our Republican friends to do the right thing, because guess what? This upside down attempt to ruin our democracy is not only hurting Democrats, it's going to hurt our country and everyone else. Look at what's happening when they shut down USAID. Rice farmers in Louisiana who provide those products, they're going to go bankrupt. So you see, even people who voted for Donald Trump are realizing they've been duped. They've been hoodwinked. They have been led to believe that he had their interest when, in fact, he has no one's interest. And so you have a lot of voter remorse out there. Republicans are saying, wait a minute, you weren't supposed to be doing this to us, just to them. Well, guess what's happening now? Us and them have come together once again.
Yes, and
people have to realize this guy doesn't care about America.
Right, and you're talking about the rice, and this state is a huge rice producer, and the parishes that surround us are going to suffer if this continues in the trajectory that it's going.
Absolutely, and they're voting against their own best interests. When you look at cutting USAID and you look at hurting the farmers, this president said, and I quote, "On day one that I'm elected, prices of groceries are going to go down. On day one, the prices of eggs are going to go down. On day one, the war in Ukraine will be over." Now it's nearly day 40.
And then he said he can't do
None
anything
of those
about
things
that.
Are true.
He said, I can't do anything about that. That's
then
what he
says,
said.
I can't do anything about that. And I was on MSNBC with Reverend Al Sharpton, and I reminded them of those very lies. And they put a split screen of me next to Trump as he said what he couldn't do, and I reminded him what he said he could do.
We're on day one.
We got to call out lies.
Yes.
We got to have the courage to stand up. We have to have courage to stand true to power, and let us not be afraid of whatever threats they may make against us. We have to use our voices.
So here's
my question, and as I said to members of the legislature, when you don't have the vote, use your voice. And now here we are in Congress. We may not have the vote, but we have our voice.
Absolutely. Can I ask you this? If he is unelected, he's a bureaucrat, he's not elected, he hasn't been vetted, but he's given these directives to folk who actually work for the government. Are they mandated to or required to respond to these bully tactics he's using, since he's not technically employed by the United States government?
If the president empowers him to do so, if he says jump and the president says yes, jump, yeah, they got to do it because the president said it. Not necessarily because he said it, but because the president is co-signing. So, but trust me, we are challenging his very existence as we speak. We're challenging, can he be where he is as we speak? We're challenging what they're doing because we believe it's illegal, unethical, immoral. So what you may not always see, and this is what I need people to be to understand, there are a lot of moving parts. There are a lot of moving parts. There's a lot of work being done behind the scenes. The media doesn't give us the attention they give him. So our efforts, you don't always see. But for the places like this, WBOK, where I can talk about the things we're doing, CNN and Fox, and those, they're not covering it because they're afraid of him. So people, wake up and listen. Support WBOK. Support with your dollars. Support with your energy. Support with your ears. Because the WBOKs and others around the country, the Data News Weekly, the Louisiana Weekly, the Tribune, support your black media that are going to give you unfettered access to facts. Pick up the newspaper. Read the Tribune. Dr. McKenna does an incredible job. Beverly McKenna does an incredible job. Data News Weekly, Terry Jones does an incredible job. The Louisiana Weekly and Renette, they do a wonderful job. WBOK with Dr. Wyatt, OT, and others do a wonderful job. They give you access to things that we can say that's not edited. Other places we don't get to know. So when I tell you that the Black Caucus and the Democratic Caucus, we're working around the clock and we're doing everything in our power and then some to block these evil efforts. Tell them you heard it on WBOK. Tell them you know they're working. Tell them you know they're working. You may not see it because they don't always publish the good works we do.
Yes. Yes.
But we're working and we're fighting and we ain't giving up and we ain't going back.
Well, we appreciate you here at WBOK as always. You're talking about all of these other folk who are doing a wonderful job, but we can breathe a bit easier knowing that we actually have a real fighter out of the state of Louisiana in Washington doing the work of LA2 on behalf of us. So thank you for your service to this state, to this city, and to this country. We appreciate you. If nobody else told it to you, I'm going to tell it to you. I appreciate you. WBOK appreciates you. The state of Louisiana appreciates you. So thank you, Congressman, for all you do.
God bless you. God bless WBOK. God bless all of our viewers. Listen, God bless you. Have a great week.
You too, Congressman. Have a great one. Listen, we have to go to break around here, but if you are just joining the conversation, you missed a good one. We always get the truth uncensored from our congressman about what is happening in Washington, and he gave it to you raw and uncut. They're fighting, but they can't do it by themselves because they don't have the numbers. So what the congressman is asking you to do is to email the Republican members of the House, members of the Senate, email them, tweet to them, post about them, inundate their numbers, call them, because we have to pressure. We need at least 3 of them to have a conscience so that the number can swing our way. The vote to end Medicaid, the vote to end the SNAP benefits, the vote to end housing happened 217 to 215, and only 1 Republican voted with the Democratic caucus. We have to lift our voices and put pressure on the Republican leaders in Washington to do the right thing for all of America's people. Not just the people who they like, not just the people who placate to white supremacy and racism. You represent all of America, and we have to do our part. They don't have the numbers in the House. They don't have the numbers in the Senate. So we have to push the Republican Party to do the right thing. So thank you, Congressman Carter, for joining us each and every Thursday. We have to go to break, pay a few bills. But when we come back, we're going to jump into conversation with Cindy Dunn, broker and realtor, talking about black home ownership, especially in the wake of what's happening in Washington. We need some expertise here. So stay with us right here. WBOK 1230 AM, what New Orleans is talking about all day long.
WBOK 1230 AM New Orleans. Home of the Good Morning Show, 7 to 9 a.m. weekdays.
This news report is brought to you by New Schools for New Orleans.
I'm Bree Wood with 4 things you should know with BIN News. Federal prosecutors charged Mansouri Menuchekri with sending $70,000 to aid ISIS. Arrested Wednesday, he also had an expired visa, jihadist videos, and weapons. His lawyer claims he was supporting orphans and widows. Texas-based Ocean Infinity is resuming the search for Malaysian Airlines Flight 370, which disappeared in 2014, with 239 people on board. The Malaysian government approved the search, focusing on an area previously overlooked. President Trump announced plans to cut 65% of Environmental Protection Agency staff, resulting in over 10,000 job losses. EPA union officials warned this would be disastrous, reducing the agency's ability to respond to natural disasters. And Warner Brothers Discovery will keep sports and news content on Max at no extra cost for standard and premium subscribers. However, basic with ads tier subscribers will lose access to BR Sports and CNN starting March 30th. Get BIN News on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
February is Black History Month, a time to honor the leaders and change makers who paved the way. At New Schools for New Orleans, we're celebrating the next generation of trailblazers, our students. Louisiana recently made historic gains on the nation's report card, climbing from the 49th to 32nd in just 5 years, our highest ranking ever. With progress in both ELA and math, we're proving what's possible. Tune in for Talk That on 12:30 a.m. at 12:30 p.m. as we uplift Black excellence, past, present, and future.
Good morning, Wake Up.
The Good Morning Show.
Good morning.
On WBOK 1230 AM.
We are back. Welcome back to the Good Morning Show. I am your host, Dr. Ashanta Wyatt. My super producer, Naira Sanders, is behind the glass pushing all the right buttons. He got to push them because I have no idea how that works over there. If you are just joining us, you missed a treat. As you all know, Thursday, each and every Thursday, is Congressman Troy Carter Thursdays here at WBOK. And he gave us all of the information that we need to prepare ourselves for the state of this country right now. So if you missed it, you could always play it back and listen to it. But do not forget to tune in each and every Thursday so you can hear directly from our Congress member. Right now, we are going to jump into conversation with the one and only Cindy Dunn, broker realtor extraordinaire. She's going to talk about Black home ownership, the current real estate scene, and tips for buying a house in today's economy, as well as this event she's having entitled Take Me Home. Good morning, Cindy. Welcome to the Good Morning Show.
Good morning. It's always a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
How you doing? You by yourself today? You normally have a team of folks. You gonna hold it down by yourself this morning?
Look, I came in here by myself, so
gonna make it happen, huh?
We're gonna make it happen.
So let's talk about Take Me Home. This is an event that is happening Saturday, March 15th at 11 a.m. on Toulouse, 3904 Toulouse Street. What is the event about, and can people still sign up for it?
Absolutely. So we haven't even started promoting this event yet. But essentially what we're trying to do is educate the public on home ownership, or even those who are interested in selling property. So oftentimes you'll find that someone they've purchased the property, or maybe they even inherited that property and they don't know the steps to go through in order to sell that property. So that's what we're going to be talking about. We have some great incentives as well.
I see. Say attendees will receive an appraisal credit and entered into a drawing for $25 off of a home inspection. You also have some powerhouse people. Talk to us about the people who will be featured at this event.
Yeah, so it's my core group. So we have Jonathan Fry with My Community Mortgage, who is absolutely amazing in getting people pre-approved. He's going to have the ability to pre-qualify some of our buyers on the spot. We also have Bill Harris with House Call, who is my professional inspector on properties that I am, on properties in which I am helping a buyer purchase. Bill is great. I'm so happy that he was able to give us these incentives in order for our buyers.
It's okay. Our mind is not all the way up right now. It's pretty early, but take your time. Come on. In order for your buyers, because the incentives are great. Like, folk don't realize all of the other little small things that are involved in making certain that you can purchase your home. Appraisals, inspections, all of those things are invaluable, really.
They are, and those are out-of-pocket expenses that we often don't talk about, right? So we think we just need this down payment in order to purchase the property, and then we need closing costs. We find that in Black communities, there are a lot of incentives when it comes to purchasing a property. So we have some programs that can assist in down payment costs. And or if you have a 401k at your job, you can borrow from that 401k for your down payment, or your life insurance policy. You can also borrow from that for your down payment.
Well, that's good to know because you have other topics too, how to leverage income taxes, tax planning and deductions, free tax assessment, because you have your girl Tashara Gray is also going to be there at this event. So does it cost anything to attend? How can they sign up?
It doesn't. So if you follow me on Facebook or even Instagram at Cindy McGee Dunn, if you go into my bio, you can sign up for this seminar. No, it's free to the public. Anything that I do, I always want to make it free to the public so that we can get people there so they can receive the knowledge.
And if you want to receive the knowledge, this event is taking place Saturday, March 15, 2025, 11 to 1, 3905 Toulouse Street in New Orleans. And you can RSVP with the QR code. Is that QR code also going to be on the platform where they can just scan it from there? Or
Yes. Yep.
Okay, cool.
It'll be easily accessible for everyone.
Absolutely. So I'm excited to talk to you about Black home ownership, right? We know historically that's been lower than other demographics, right? But what do you think are the key barriers that Black families face in achieving home ownership, and what changes are needed to address these challenges?
Yeah, so I think that the trend in New Orleans with Black home ownership is the same as that of the national average, where Black owners are receiving higher interest rates than their counterparts. We also are seeing that Black home owners are denied loans at a disproportionate rate. So we just want to open up the floodgates for conversations like this. I think that's the first step. And then educating our public on what home ownership means, what it does for our community, and how we can get there.
So I don't know if you've been paying attention to the news, but there are a couple of Black families who own land, acres and acres of land. And there are these companies that are just coming through, and they are petitioning court systems and judges to cite eminent domain to take acres and acres of land from families who this legacy land is generational land. How do people prepare? Maybe, this is a conversation we could have if we don't have all the answers, but just to talk to folk about it. How do we protect ourselves from something like this happening when the courts are siding with these companies to strip us of land that we've owned for hundreds of years?
Yeah. I don't have an answer to that. So eminent domain is pretty tough because it's essentially the government paying you for your property so that
even if I don't want to be paid.
Even if you don't want to be paid.
Because I don't want your money. I want my land.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
So what would be the purpose in telling people like this is supposed to be an American dream to own things, and not only do you own the home, but you own the land that the home is on, and then a company could just decide that they want to build or put a structure through your land, and they offer you money, you refuse to take the money, but then they can go to court and force you to sell anyway if you don't want to sell.
Yep.
So this is something that I'm hoping maybe we could get an attorney on here to like help talk to us about it, because we're seeing that more and more happening, like all across this country. This is the second instance that I've heard about this with a Black family who's had land in their family lineage since the 20s or something, and folk are just coming in citing eminent domain and taking acres and acres of their land.
I think the most recent situation was the government trying to build a railroad track or something, right?
Well, not the government, this company.
I'm
but
sorry,
they
yes, the
petitioned
company.
The government,
correct, I'm sorry.
The courts, this
I
company.
stand corrected. The company wanting to build a railroad track. I think that it's important that when we're purchasing land, we know what the zoning is. So in major metropolitan cities, obviously a railroad track probably wouldn't run through your community. So I think that's really important, knowing where your what the zoning laws are in that particular area in which you are buying property, or you already own that property. Outside of that,
it's just tough. I promise you, I think I want to invite some legal mind on here to talk to us about that, because I just can't fathom owning something for generations and generations, and then somebody somewhere just decides, oh, this is prime real estate for me to run my project through. And it's always through a Black community or through Black home ownership, Black land ownership. It's never the other way around. Correct. And so that to me, makes me feel a way about it. But what role do you believe real estate professionals, particularly African American real estate professionals, play in supporting and encouraging Black home ownership?
I think it's huge. Oftentimes, our community don't know the advantages of owning a property. I think it's important. So once again, us having conversations like this, making sure that your sphere is they're knowledgeable about home ownership too. Or if they aren't, you need to find that person who does know about those things.
And what do you tell folk about? Because I don't think people even realize once you own something, it's really probably your largest, biggest asset. Like, how can you use your home to leverage generational wealth for your family?
Yep. So purchasing a property is probably going to be the largest, the largest purchase that you'll ever make in your life. Paying down that mortgage is huge, right? Because when you're paying down that mortgage, you then gain equity in that property. That equity can then be used to purchase another property, and you continue to do that. And sometimes it makes a whole lot more sense to pull out the equity in your property because the interest rate is lower than you going out and getting a mortgage. So today the interest rate is about 6.8 on a 30-year loan. It's 5 something on a 15-year.
And that's up from when I purchased my home. My interest rate was in the 4%, the 4% rate.
I think people want to see the COVID interest rates again, and that's probably not going to happen. Those 2.5
no time soon anyway. Yeah, I wish. I wish. So are there any programs or initiatives aimed at increasing Black home ownership that you've seen making a significant impact, either locally or nationally?
Yep. So a lot of people aren't aware that if you have a HANO voucher, this is not like
that's the Housing Authority of New Orleans, guys.
Correct.
We like, and when you're in the role of an educator, whether you believe it or not, you're teaching people home, and educators love them an acronym, baby. We love a good acronym.
Thank you for that. So HANO, when you have a HANO voucher, a lot of people don't even know that you can use that voucher to then purchase a property, which is crazy that people aren't aware of that. I don't know why, but HANO doesn't market that. I have some ideas of why it's not being marketed, but you can purchase property with a HANO voucher. So whatever HANO is paying in your rent, they're going to match that in your mortgage.
So let's talk about that, because I have a friend, she's now deceased. Rest her soul. And I believe that's, I know that's how she ended up into home ownership, but there are some stipulations that come with, that came with her home. I think she had to stay there a certain number of years, but she passed away even before that. What happens in that instance? Could her children have been able to inherit, because she was putting equity into this property already? Did it just disappear, or is it transferable because she had kids? I still don't know to this day what happened with that property or her children in terms of what she was able to put into that property.
Are her kids adults now?
Now they are. They weren't at the time.
So I would assume that, so with HANO, obviously anybody who is living in a property has to be on their voucher, right? So if she had, let's say hypothetically, she had 2 kids who are listed on that particular property. First of all, they obviously become heirs to the property the moment that she passes. So in hindsight, yes, they would become heirs to that property. They can purchase that property by opening up a succession. Now, when you're talking about the HANO aspect of it, I would think that, yes, they would still inherit that property, but I'm not absolutely sure, how that would
work.
Because
in my mind, I'm just wondering, you don't want all of her investment to just disappear simply because she passed away.
Correct.
When her kids were a part of that investment, they were listed on everything. So I've always thought about that, but just certain things you just don't ask folk. But I wonder, what I mean? I just wondered if she put this money into it, because it had been about 3, almost 4 years, and she was close to that line where they say you live there for so many years and you don't have to repay the investment that the government put into the property, or the organization put into the property.
If I was representing them as a realtor, I would definitely fight HANO on that aspect. I don't know if that would have been a fight, but if it was, that's something that I would have fought for, because we want to make sure that those kids are receiving an
Not
equity
homeless.
that
Yeah, they're not
and they're not
homeless.
homeless,
Yeah.
right? So the other aspect of that is successions. A succession property is one in which the homeowner has passed away, and now they have heirs to that property who own that property. But in Louisiana, in order to take ownership, a succession has to be open through the court saying, hey, I am the heir to this property. And because I'm an heir to this property, it now belongs to me. I want to be able to do what I want to do with it. How do we not go that route? By making sure that you have a trust open. So if you have a trust open, you're paying for that property on the front end instead of the back end. Of course, when you open up a succession, there's funds or money rather that has to be paid to an attorney in order for that succession to be open. And sometimes the heirs to that property can't afford it. They can't afford opening up a succession. They can't afford to pay the taxes, the mortgage, or the insurance on that property.
So how has the growing awareness around racial equity affected the real estate market? Because, we do know Black folk can go and try to buy a property and the prices is one thing. We've seen this play out in real life, right? And then they can get their non-Black friend to go and look at that same property and it's valued differently. Or even when you're putting your house on the market, they could appraise it for one value, but you can let your non-Black friends put it on the market and it appraises for a different amount. Are we still seeing this kind of racial inequity in the housing market as of today?
Absolutely. I had a property in 2022. So I was listing this property. I was very, very familiar with the property because I sold the property to the current homeowners at that time, right? It was a very interesting property. So I had a pre-listing appraisal done on the property. So typically I don't have pre-listing appraisals, but the property was so much different than the ones in that neighborhood. I wanted to make sure that I was pricing it correctly. The homeowners were Black. It was a 3-story property. 6 months prior to the pre-listing appointment, prior to the pre-listing appraisal, they had an appraisal on the property. That property appraised for $630, 6 months prior to my appraisal. The appraisal appraised that property at $550,000.
So what changed? but the complexion of the people
exactly
who are involved in it.
Exactly.
But how can that happen? Like, how can a person justify that? Like, when you push back and you say, well, this property just appraised for this amount. Like, what are they telling you? What is their response?
Let me tell you what's crazy is that appraisers aren't governed by anyone. So if they appraise a property, you can rebut that appraisal, right? Rebut that appraisal, but outside of that appraisal sticks. And that's unfortunate. So the great thing about this particular property is that it was only a pre-appraisal of property, right? So once we went under contract, the buyers then had their appraisal done and the property appraised. But I knew that this appraisal was based on the color of our skin because the homeowner was present. She was Black. And obviously I'm Black. When I had the property, when the buyers had that property appraised during their, once we were under contract,
I had non-Black.
I had one of my colleagues who is white to go to that property for the appraisal and then appraised.
Yeah, we have to really do something with that because I don't think anybody should go unchecked. Like if there's an appraisal, an appraisal is serious business, right? Mm-hmm. That's a serious piece of understanding the value of your home, and so somebody should be governing that piece. I don't think it should just be singularly up to them to tell you what your property is worth.
I absolutely agree.
Yeah, look, we have to go to break and pay a couple bills, but when we come back, we're going to jump right back into conversation with the one and only Cindy Dunn, broker realtor extraordinaire, right here on WBOK 1230 AM, what New Orleans is talking about all day long.
Attention, WBOK listeners. Are you a fan of the station and want to show your support and style? Well, we've got some exciting news for you. Introducing the official WBOK merchandise, the perfect way to wear your love for the station. Whether you're a longtime listener or a new fan, we've got something for everyone. Head to WBOK1230.com now and grab your WBOK gear before it's gone. When you buy WBOK merch, you're not just getting quality items, you're supporting the station you love.
Good morning and happy Thursday. I'm Morgan Lentis with WDSU News, and here's a check of today's headlines. The New Orleans City Council will meet today to discuss a number of hot topics. Council members will talk about a 7-story hotel development on Elysian Fields Avenue in the Marigny. That project is raising concerns over the hotel's size, which is not typical in that primarily low-rise residential area. They will also discuss rules surrounding short-term rentals in the city and honor Black masking Indians. That meeting is set for 10 a.m. Several big parades are rolling tonight across southeast Louisiana. The Knights of Babylon roll uptown at 5:30 p.m., followed by the Knights of Chaos at 6:15, and then the highly anticipated Crew of Muses at 7. Over in Metairie, the Crew of Symphony will roll at 6:30, followed by the Crew of Atlas at 7. Atlas was rescheduled after heavy rain on Sunday caused many parades to be canceled. And if you are flying out or have family flying in today, expect some carnival fun at the airport. Armstrong International is hosting its annual Crew de Lewis parade for travelers. Airport staff and volunteers parade through the terminal with a brass band. They'll pass out beads and other throws starting at 11 a.m. Then mark your calendars. Tomorrow night, the Zulu Coronation Ball will put on a show of pageantry like no other, and you can watch it all live on MeTV. That's channel 6.2 over the air, 108 for Cox customers, and 185 for Spectrum. And that's a look at today's headlines. I'm Morgan Lentis with WDSU. Have a great day.
NOLA Public Schools is excited for the rest of this 24-25 school year journey with our families, watching our students dive into learning, growth, and success. As the school year continues, our dedicated educators are focused on keeping every student engaged and motivated. Let's keep embracing new challenges, celebrating achievements, and supporting each other to make the rest of this year even more impactful. Stay connected with your school and NOLA PS through our social media channels for updates and resources. We're here to help our scholars attend today, achieve tomorrow.
WBOK and LCMC Health are proud to present Keeping You Well Cafe, 60 Minutes with LCMC Health, where the doctors speak directly to the people of New Orleans. LCMC Health is committed to improving the quality of care here in New Orleans, the Gulf South, and beyond. The Keeping You Well Cafe is another way for LCMC Health to engage with the community. At the Keeping You Well Cafe, LCMC Health joins WBOK and local businesses to answer your questions about wellness and health.
Making a difference in the community. WBOK 1230 AM.
Good morning, Wake Up.
The Good Morning Show.
Good morning.
On WBOK 1230 AM.
Back. Welcome back to the Good Morning Show. I'm your host, Dr. Ashanta White. If you're just joining us, we have been in conversation about Black home ownership, the current real estate scene right here with realtor broker Cindy Dunn, and we were talking about her Take Me Home seminar that is happening Saturday, March 15th, 11 to 1 at 3905 Toulouse Street in New Orleans, and they're giving out incentives, y'all. You can get appraisal credit, and you can get entered into a drawing for $25 off a home inspection. So all you have to do is RSVP on her social media site.
Yep, social media. I am Cindy McGee Dunn. If you click on my bio, you're going to see the link to RSVP.
It's that simple. So let's talk about the current real estate scene. With the real estate market experiencing rapid changes, right? How do you see the current trends in both the home prices and inventory affecting buyers and sellers?
Yep, so we're low on inventory right now. In fact, I have a few buyers who are looking and there's just nothing out there. So
is that why we're getting these inundation of calls about, are you interested in selling your property? I block so many of them every day. Oh my goodness, it's harassment.
They call me and send letters to my house. If I was interested in selling, I'm going to sell my own property.
Yeah.
But yes, that's why. So what I've had to do is look at properties that were once on the market that didn't sell. Those are expired listings. So I've had to go back to those properties and look at inventory, because obviously at one point those sellers say, hey, I'm interested in selling. It just didn't sell for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm looking at those properties for some of my clients right now. because inventory is just low. It's crazy.
So does that make it a buyer or seller's market?
We're definitely in a buyer's market. And that's some of the things I've been trying to tell my sellers as well, because, you know, I have this one seller who is just gun-ho about not doing a price reduction or not paying for closing costs. And I'm like, that's not the market we're in right now.
It'll sit there.
In which
it'll sit there.
Yeah.
There's a home that I literally been looking at. I kid you not. I've been in my home 13 years. That house has been on the market longer. It predates
That's
when
insane.
and he's still, the for sale sign is still there. It's a sell by owner situation, and no matter who comes and what the offer is, he's not budging. But the for sale sign is, so I think he might just like the company. Like he might just like folks rolling up.
Sometimes they do. Like if I'm doing an open house, we'll have the nosy neighbors come because they're interested in what the house is selling for, or they know the person who lives in that property, and they just like, oh, I just want to see what it looks like. For sell by owners are really, really, really hard because they want to sell. They just don't want to pay a realtor to sell their property.
Or they don't want to sell it because I mean that for that home to be on the market, all of those, the for sale sign is still there. He still entertains the phone calls, but the house has not moved at all. Maybe he's lonely, and maybe that's his way.
He needs somebody to talk to. He should go read the newspaper and sit in his recliner.
I do not know, but. What are your thoughts about the rise in mortgage rates, and how does that impact both buyers and sellers in the current market?
It makes it to where buyers don't have as much buying power. So a lot of buyers are complaining about the interest rates. The interest rates are right where they're supposed to be. In 2020 and early 2021, we saw those super low interest rates, and that's what people want right now. Like I said before, that's probably not going to happen, or it's going to take a very long time for something like that to happen. So what I tell people is that not only are interest rates right where they need to be, but as long as you're renting, you're paying 100% of someone else's interest rate.
Yeah.
So I would much rather purchase and pay my own interest rate and create generational wealth than, create that wealth for someone else.
I just think a lot of folks do not believe that home ownership is a reality for them, because of whatever myths they believe in. I mean, it's a huge responsibility, but as you say, I mean, you don't even have any sort of collateral, any sort of equity. You don't have anything to lean on. You're just renting, and it's just money just gone.
Yep.
And you don't have it to kind of fall back on, because your home is an investment. Like you can draw from your home, you can use your home as collateral for other things, and so I know. Personally, from just my family itself, my mom is just, I think it's a contentment, and not one the extra in her mind responsibility of things.
And some people
that makes
are
it
scared.
feel like that. Yeah, it's fear.
I've had friends to tell me they didn't want to purchase property because they just didn't want the responsibility of home ownership. And it does, like you said, it does come with a huge responsibility. But when we think about what we're leaving for our kids, or whatever your bloodline looks like, some of your favorite celebrities own property, right? So whether they
in multiple places,
in multiple cities, multiple states, they're owning property. Real estate is just a way to get to generational wealth. I know that sounds very cliche because people are saying it all the time, but it's true.
Well, in light of the economic uncertainty, right? We have a current government that is very much like, it's uncertain right now what we're going to face. But what impact do you see inflation and interest rates having on the real estate markets in the next 12 to maybe 18 months? So what we're asking is the economic uncertainty, right? What impact do you see inflation and interest rates having on the real estate market? So everything costs more, right? Everything is inflated. The interest rates, as you say, are right where they want to be, but because of inflation, they could start to move. Like, what impact do you see that having? Do you see it, the market changing from a buyer's market to a seller's market? Do you see less people searching for homes? Because I can tell you, like, I used to, because I'm one of those people that like to go around looking when properties are available, right?
As you should.
I see less and less of that. Like, homes are not moving like they once were. For sale signs are not, out there. And if they are, they're staying there, like the guy around the corner from me for years.
Yeah.
Like, do you see it being encumbrance on both buyers and sellers with the inflation numbers and the higher interest rates?
Yeah, so it is. I'm sorry to answer your question.
Mhm.
Yes. So there's less buying power with buyers, as we already stated.
Mhm.
There's less inventory. As long as our interest rates stay with the way they are, it's going to be an issue for both buyers and sellers. Because even if, as a listing agent, we're putting that property on the market, we have to have buyers who's going to buy. And yes, that property will sell eventually, is what we say.
Hopefully.
We just don't know when.
So what are the top 3 tips for first-time home buyers to help them stand out in a crowded market, especially since it's a buyer's market? Like, what are the top 3 tips you would give to someone searching for a home right now in today's market?
Yep. So oftentimes what buyers and sellers will do is people tend to work with people who they like, and that's in any and every industry. So sometimes what they'll do is they have their cousin, uncle, brother, son who's a realtor, and they want to use that person, which is great. Like, I want you to use someone that you are comfortable with. However, that person has only been in real estate for 6 months. Or maybe if they've been in real estate for 6 years, they're doing it part-time. So they're not as knowledgeable as someone who's doing it full-time. So you want to make sure that when you're choosing your core group, that lender, your realtor, the inspector, you want to do your homework on those people. You want to make sure that they're knowledgeable in their respective businesses.
I think that working with somebody you like is important, but I think working with somebody who's knowledgeable is priority.
Absolutely.
I think you got to start with the expertise first and then go down to likability, because I can like you, but if you're not knowledgeable about my circumstance, what my financial picture looks like, what works best for me, then what's the point of me liking you? If you're going to put me in a position where a year or 2 from now, my house might be back on the market, right? Because I overpurchased, like, things of that nature. But so in today's competitive real estate market, what are your, that's not what I wanted to say. No, how important is credit when buying a home, and what steps can potential buyers take to improve their credit score before applying for a mortgage?
Credit is huge. So keep in mind that when your credit score is high, your interest rates are lower. Can someone get pre-approved with a credit score of 520 or 580? Absolutely, but you're going to have a high interest rate as well. So what you can do, if you don't have you can get with Tashara Gray with Gray's Tax Express, and she can put you in a position to purchase, because taxes are huge too. We want to make sure that we're not taking a whole bunch of deductions like some of our 1099s do. I know I do that pretty often because I want to see more of my money.
It's your money and you want it now.
I want it right now. All of it.
So, given the current state of and I asked you about the inflation before, should buyers focus more on finding their forever home, or consider properties that might be more affordable in the short term? So, you know how you hear people say, this is my starter home.
Yeah.
Is it more feasible to look at it that way, or are you looking for the longevity, like you want to be here 20, 30 years?
I think that it's all circumstantial. So what does that look like for you? Because for me, where I live right now is more than likely going to be my forever home. But when we first purchased the property, it was like, okay, we're just going to get this because this is where we want to be. And now that I've been there, I'm like,
I don't want to go.
I don't foresee me moving anytime soon.
Yeah.
Even though my husband's always sending me properties. So I think it's all circumstantial. You can always sit down with myself, and we can have a conversation about what that looks like for you and what your particulars are in purchasing a home.
So do you think that the recent focus on affordable housing will have a lasting impact on home ownership rates? I almost want to answer this myself, because I'm just thinking about the current state of the government, where they're just getting rid of all of these federal programs. And I can see how these federal guardrails being removed, like all of that first-time home buyer money, all of these subsidies that folk get to incentivize them into home ownership. I don't see that lasting, or I don't see it surviving all of these federal cuts. Do you?
With the current administration, probably not. He's done a lot of things to prove and show to us that we are less than. So yeah, some of that money that's out there is probably going to go away fairly soon. Obviously, we don't have a timetable of what that looks like.
So how do you see programs like the first-time home buyer tax credit or the FHA loans helping buyers in today's market? Are there any government initiatives that could make home ownership more accessible?
Yeah, so typically people who are approved for FHA loans, they're usually first-time home buyers, right? And not that that's the case all the time, but mostly that's what you see. They are first-time home buyers. There are some incentives with that, like lower, like you can get pre-approved when you have a lower credit score. The interest rate is a little bit less. Your down payment is a little bit less. And then when you have some FHA loans, there are probably some incentives with down payment assistance that we can get you as well.
What's the difference between the FHA loan and the conventional loan?
So typically, you can only have one FHA loan, right, at a period of time. You can use it again, but you can only have one. So if the current home that you're living in was an FHA loan and you wanted to purchase another property, that second property is not going to be an FHA. The FHA property is one that you have to live in.
Okay.
So if you got pre-approved for a conventional loan, you can use that in any way that you want. You can purchase multiple properties with a conventional loan. I try not to speak on the lending aspect. I try to stay in my wheelhouse, but that's the gist of it.
Well, thank you for answering that, because I really wanted to know that. Like I wanted to know the difference between them. My uncle is very fortunate because he has VA. You know, he's a veteran, so he doesn't have to worry about that kind of stuff. But
the thing about those, though, is like VA loans are great because there are some great incentives, but you have to remember with a VA loan, there's no down payment. Whenever you don't have a down payment, your mortgage is more
astronomical.
Yeah, so
you look like you're winning in the beginning, and it's like, oh, yeah.
So USDA
that's
loans,
a good way to look at it.
VA loans, you might have a lower interest rate, but your mortgage payments are going to be a lot more expensive.
So in your opinion, how should home buyers navigate government-backed programs and ensure they're getting the best deal available in the current economic environment?
Yep. Sitting down and speaking with your loan officer, your realtor, and your CPA or tax preparer are that's the way that you need to go. That's the journey that you need to be on to make sure that you're receiving the best of the best when it comes to home ownership.
And talking about, we kind of touched on this a little bit earlier, but what should buyers keep in mind when evaluating the long-term investment potential of a property, especially with the current economic climate and potential shifts in home value? So what, like, as a buyer, because you know this, you say it's a buyer's market. You're the expert, not me. You say it's a buyer's market. What should buyers keep in mind when evaluating the long-term investment potential of a property?
So in real estate, we say location, 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 right? So you want to make sure that the location is one that you can foresee yourself being in for a long period of time, if that's the route that you want to go. Even if you decide that, I'm just going to stay here for 5 years, what does rental income look like in 5 years for that particular property? So you want to make sure that you have a realtor on your team that understands the ins and outs of real estate and what that looks like for you.
But isn't it also important, because I have a cousin who has property in a certain area of the city, and it's so hard for her to always have it like full to capacity because it's a fourplex, because of like the crime stats in that area, because there are not real businesses in the area, so it's not really drawing families to the area, you know, a good school in the area. I think, in my opinion, I would want to know all of those factors, because if I'm going to invest in this property but I can't get renters in it, I think it's because of all of those outliers. Like, where's the grocery store? Do I have to go far to get to the grocery store? You know, is it on a bus line? Like, a lot of people think about those things when they don't have transportation.
Yep. And sometimes the buyer doesn't think about that. So when you're under contract, and you go through your inspection and due diligence period, people only think about the inspection part of that. Okay, I got to get an inspector to come look at the property. But the other part is due diligence.
Yeah.
Like, what does the crime rate look like? What grade level is the school in this neighborhood? And all of the things that you've already mentioned. All of that happens during the inspection and due diligence period.
And all of that lends itself to your property value, too, because I know if you're in a school, like a nicely zoned area where a school is, all of that plays a factor.
It does.
I know for me, it did when I was looking for a community to live in. I wanted to go there in the daytime. I wanted to go there at night. in my community just happens to have a lot of children. That doesn't bother me. I actually put a basketball goal outside my house for the kids to have something to do. That doesn't bother me at all, because long as I'm inside and I got the remote, I'm good. I am not hard to please at all. But I think that being able to be in a community where you can see the liveliness of it is important to some people. Some people don't want children running around in their neighborhood. I know in the comments right around the corner from me, it's almost like a retirement village. It's just it's folk with no kids, and it's just so dry. I could not live there. When I went looking for a home, I was like, I can't do this. This is not for me.
I agree.
Our gated community is not for me. I
love seeing kids play outside, because we don't see that anymore. Like when we were growing up, we knew we had to be inside when the street lights came on. Now the kids are on roadblocks or their electronic devices and stuff like that. So I love seeing kids play outside. I love hearing them play.
They play curveball, like you just throw and hit the curve, something just so. But it's just, for me, that was important to me. Other folk want to be somewhere where it's like
super quiet,
dead. You know, no noise. Like the birds not even coming to visit your community. You know what I'm saying? Like it's just too quiet. I don't want to. So those kinds of things are important for me. But before we go again, I want you to talk to us about before we leave. Talk to us about your seminar. Like, make certain that people know what you're offering, who the speakers are, how they can sign up, where it is, what time, all of those things.
Yep. So Take Me Home is a real estate seminar where we are going to focus on increasing your real estate by leveraging taxes. Oftentimes in our community, we know it's tax season, so you're gonna go and buy the next lemon, and it's gonna work for 6 months, and then you have to buy another one. So we want to teach you how to leverage your income taxes to create wealth. We have Tashara Gray with Gray's Tax Express, who is going to give you some information on filing taxes properly. And she's also going to give you guys a free assessment for 3 years. A lot of CPAs and tax preparers aren't doing that. There's always a fee attached to whatever it is that they're doing. We have Jonathan Fry with My Community Mortgage. He's absolutely amazing. He's going to be our lender on site, and he's going to get you guys pre-qualified. We have Bill Harris with House Call, who's going to give you guys $25 off a home inspection. As we know, home inspections are extremely important when purchasing a property. And then we have myself, Cindy Dunn. I'll be there giving you guys advice on home ownership, whether that's purchasing a property or selling.
Listen, I'm excited about your and you say you've been licensed for nearly 10 years, and this is your first seminar?
This is my first seminar. I've been extremely blessed to not have to do seminars. Typically, when you first get into the game, you're doing seminars to put yourself out there. I think right now I'm just at a point where I hope people need to know what services are out there and what we need to do to become homeowners.
Listen, I'm excited, and it's always good to see representation in every field. So to be able to see, I think there's a comfortability when you have Black buyers and sellers get to see a Black realtor, a Black lender. It helps to ease those misconceptions about buying power for Black folk. It helps to address the inequities, because I feel like it should be this way. If I have a Black lender, a Black realtor, you can let me know when I'm being taken advantage of in terms of an appraisal or an inspection. You could tell me what to look for, those kinds of things, because we know it happens. We know folk undervalue people's homes for whatever reason. We know that people don't get the most for their money when there's not representation in the mix.
And there's a relatability as well. When you see someone who looks like you, there's a comfort level. Yeah. And I often use, personal experiences to be able to relay a message that I'm trying to convey to someone.
But we also know that representation matters only when that representation is actually representing my interests. Because sometimes we have folk, who look like us, who don't actually work on our behalf. But I want to thank you for spending part of your morning here with us. And I want to thank you for educating us. You're educated whether you want the title or not about, how
I have to add that to my resume.
You absolutely should, because every field is education. Like you're teaching people your particular expertise. And so if you want to take part in the Take Me Home seminar, please go to Cindy Dunn's social media, which is Cindy Marie Dunn.
Cindy McGee Dunn.
McGee Dunn, I'm sorry.
On Facebook and Instagram. On Instagram, just click the link in my bio and RSVP.
Well, I want to call you Marie. What's your middle name? Listen, it is happening Saturday, March 15, 2025, 11 to 1 p.m., 3905 Tulu Street, New Orleans, Louisiana, 70119. So go to her social media, Cindy McGee Dunn, and RSVP. They're giving out appraisal credit, y'all, and you can get $25 off of a home inspection. Shout out to the one and only Cindy Dunn, broker realtor, for joining us right here on WBOK. Stay with us. I have more news. Y'all know we're going to talk about it. WBOK 1230 a.m. what New Orleans is talking about all day long.
This is your news update for WBOK 1230 AM from WDSU. For all your news and weather, watch WDSU News, New Orleans' leader in live, local, late-breaking news. Today at noon and 4 p.m.
Morning fog again. After that, expect mostly cloudy skies, staying mild with highs in the low to mid-70s. Chance for a passing shower this afternoon, but most of us will stay dry. Lows tonight are in the 40s and the 50s. Then we're staying dry with highs in the upper 60s and low 70s Friday through the weekend. From the WDSU First Warning Weather Center, I'm Raven Richard.
Ever have one of those days where your gut just feels blah?
Ugh, yes.
Occasional bloating or gas could be signs that your gut is out of balance, but Align Probiotic can help. Align 24/7 Digestive Support is a daily use probiotic with a unique strain to help relieve occasional digestive issues. It's the #1 doctor-recommended brand. So when you feel the signs, it's time to try Align. Align Probiotic. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
Hi, this is Arnie Filko. Let's elevate every Tuesday through Thursday from 6 to 7 o'clock p.m. as we discuss the community, the country, and the world, from politics to current events to sports. We look forward to your input and continuing the quality programming on your community station, WBOK. Join Carrie and I every Tuesday through Thursday, 6 to 7 o'clock p.m. on Elevated Conversations, the Arnie and Carrie Show. See you soon.
The New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Foundation is the nonprofit organization that owns the New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Festival presented by Shell. With the funds generated from Jazz Fest, the foundation invests in Louisiana companies through economic development, cultural enrichment, and free educational programs. To learn more about what the New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Foundation does, please visit www.jazzandheritage.org.
Hey everybody, it's Kimber White Dupree.
And it's Graylin Bryant Banks from the front porch. We're coming up next.
Good morning, Wake Up.
The Good Morning Show.
Good morning.
On WBOK 1230 AM.
the Good Morning Show. If you are just joining us, we were in conversation with broker realtor Cindy Dunn. And let me tell y'all something, WBOK listening audience. Cindy wanted to know why when she comes on and she's giving all this good information about home ownership, y'all are not calling in. Y'all got to call in and ask the questions, give y'all commentary. She asked me that specifically, so I said, look, I'm going to address it with the listening audience. But if you ever want to join the conversation here, don't be shy. I see y'all in the chat, but pick up the phone and call. It's 504-582-9422. Good morning, Don. Welcome to the Good Morning Show.
Good morning. Good morning.
How you doing?
All right, Dr. Wyatt. Yeah, real estate, home ownership. You know, you mentioned Marjorie Green yesterday about the issue, the comments she made, and I mentioned about the Appalachian Regional Commission.
Yes.
That encompasses 13 states from New York State all the way down to Mississippi, Appalachia, and mostly it's all of West Virginia, but those 13 states are mostly on the western portion of those states, like South Carolina and even the northern part of Alabama and Georgia. But there's another commission authority that we also should address is the Delta Regional Authority. They operate under the same premise. Now, the Appalachian Regional Commission was founded. Matter of fact, it's coming up on its 60th anniversary, March 9th, 1965. That was started a commission under the LBJ Great Society, and the Delta Regional Authority was founded in 2000 both by Congress, and they help in impoverished areas with job training, jobs, investment, all that stuff, infrastructure. These are the co-chairs are federally appointed by the president. Okay? But the ironic thing is that the state of Mississippi, the state of Alabama, the state of Tennessee, the state of Kentucky, and the Delta Regional, let me back up. The Delta Regional Authority is from Southern Illinois, Missouri, Eastern Missouri, Eastern Kentucky. But Kentucky and Tennessee, and Mississippi, Alabama, they're in both the Appalachian Regional Commission and the Delta Regional Authority. Their state benefits from both of these taxpayer-funded investment tools. And so I want people to look it up. Delta Regional Authority, it's called the Delta Regional Authority includes northeast, northern Louisiana. So for the information, and it goes all the way up through the Mississippi Delta. But one other quick thing, the 1890 land grant, where they got rid of the USDA scholarship for 1890 HBCU's land grant, that's covered under the Second Morrill Act, Morrill, Congressman Morrill. The first part of that is when we look at the first Morrill Act in 1862, let's listen to some of these institutions that's covered under the first Morrill Act. Massachusetts Institute of Technology, that's right, MIT. Cornell University, that's right, the Ivy League, is a land grant 1862 Morrill Act recipient. The same as the first was Michigan State was the first 1862. Same as Texas A&M. LSU is a land grant first Morrill Act recipient. And so these big white institutes, Louisiana Tech, all of them, Georgia Tech, and all those are covered under the 1862 first Morrill Act. The land grant HBCUs is covered under the 1890 second Morrill Act. Thank you for your time, Doctor.
Thank you,
I won't
Don.
take too much of your time.
You. Thank you so much.
All right.
Good morning, John. Welcome to the Good Morning Show.
Hey, good morning, Dr. White.
Good morning.
John. How you doing, love? Hey, I'm going to just make it brief and sweet, and don't get frustrated, but you're going to keep hearing me saying this from time to time. More and more whites are going to realize they ain't white enough for what's, and you see it, they ain't white enough for what's coming.
And they ain't wealthy enough either.
Yep, that's what I mean. When I say ain't white enough, that encompasses all of that.
Yeah.
And you can see the tension everywhere all over the country. It's like I said, I think it's Isaiah 2:1 or what have you, where Egyptians will fight Egyptians. All we got to do is this is a time now that's not like the 60s. Okay, this is a much more pronounced dangerous time. This is a time where you're going to see violence. It has the possibility of seeing violence like you ain't never seen before in this country. The 60s ain't going to be nothing compared to. It's a different kind of energy. I mean, it's a real, and it's best for blacks, unless it comes directly at you, to keep your head down and let the Egyptians take care of each other. I'm telling you, it's not good to be the head up right now. I'm telling you, it's not good.
Well, that's what James Carville said. That's what he said. He said that you just got to watch him implode. Basically, he said he sees this administration imploding within the next 30 days. Is what he said. And we just need to stand back and let them do what they do. That's what James Carville said. I said it yesterday on the station. But thank you, John, for your call.
But yes, and like I say, particularly for blacks, don't get in the way, because if this stuff blows out, you don't want to be seen as the reason why. You don't want to make too much unnecessary noise. That's all I got to say.
Thank
Stay
you so
safe,
much.
family.
Have a blessed one. Listen, it's always good to hear from the WBOK listen audience, but I got something to tell y'all in case y'all didn't catch it, and just in case you didn't hear it. But Pam Bondi, the Attorney General, they're getting ready to release the Epstein client list today. I'm laughing at it because, girl, who you think you fooling? We don't care, because the names that we know are on it probably not still on it because you want to release it. Because if you know the names that were on it, if they were still on it, you wouldn't be talking about releasing it. And y'all, I hope y'all picking up what I'm putting down, because if the current commander-in-chief name ain't there, we don't want to hear about it, because we know he's been to the island multiple times. We've seen a couple little pictures with him and his buddy Epstein, and we know that man didn't just die in prison. We absolutely know that he didn't just decide to kill himself in prison. Stop playing in our face, Miss Bondi. Talk about something you gonna release the Epstein list. Release the whole list. The whole list, unredacted, everybody. Because he ain't die about no list that's just going to give us the low-hanging fruit. He ain't die about no list, baby. He died about a list that have names on there that y'all can't afford to let out of the bag. So if you're going to release the list, my girl, AG Pam Bondi, release the whole list. And if your boss ain't on it, keep it. Don't tell me nothing about Diddy. We know about Diddy, but we know what y'all told us about him. We see what y'all are doing, but I keep trying to tell people there's a head of the snake. We want the head. Y'all keep giving us parts of the body, but we want the head. We want all of the people, politicians, senators, former presidents, music executives, big time prince from different world nations and so all of them. We want them all, but y'all ain't gonna get that to us. So why you playing in our face about a list with them low hanging fruit? We want everybody. Yeah. The list gonna blow our mind if we actually got the right list. That's why he dead, because y'all don't want us to have the right list. So, girl, miss me with that. But I just wanted to tell y'all that they're gonna release that sanitized Epstein list today, is what they're saying. But in other buffoonery news, I want to tell y'all about Scott Turner. He's the pick for the housing secretary. He's the black face that they put on a Black History celebration that they had at the White House. Him and Floyd Mayweather must be running the same dumb race. Him, Floyd Mayweather, and this guy talking about, he's Jack Brewer. He said he's celebrating the long overdue demise of diversity, equity, and inclusion. This is a black man now, real black. He was born black, he gonna die black. This is a black man saying this. He said, but look at what's happening today. Illegal immigrants and transgender movement have been elevated above black Americans. Billions of dollars are funneled into programs for non-citizens, while public schools and black neighborhoods continue to fail students. Now, they like to say the things that make sense to us, why they hide it under all of that white supremacy, those white supremacy talking points. We know that the school systems are struggling, but ask yourself why. Ask yourself why. He vehemently supports school choice, but he worried about the school suffering. You can't make this stuff up. He said he's celebrating the demise of diversity, equity, and inclusion. He said we must reject the false promises of diversity, equity, and inclusion and return to celebrating black achievement based on merit, character, and perseverance. The S is simple. Diversity, equity, inclusion isn't about diversity of thought. It's about ideological conformity. That's what this black man said. This black man, Jack Brewer. I think he was in the NFL before. They probably need to check him for CTE. He probably can't think straight. I don't know what his problem is, but he looked like he black, but he sound like he's so out of touch. Poor thing. He need his head examined, him and Floyd Mayweather, because Floyd Mayweather says that Donald Trump is the best president in the history of the United States. You know why Floyd's saying that? Because he's extra wealthy, and he want to make certain that he protect his wealth. He's not trying to protect his blackness. He's trying to protect his wealth. And he know that they're giving all of these tax cuts and all of that to the super wealthy, so he got to say the things that he needs to say, just like Governor Landry, so he can make sure he's in that number. Poor thing. All of them need their head examined. He probably have CTE too, probably one too many hits to the head. I don't know, but I got to go. But y'all can stay tuned for the front porch up next with Graylin and Kimber. As for this show, we going to see y'all tomorrow. Y'all know there's supposed to be an economic boycott tomorrow. Don't buy it tomorrow is what they're asking you not to do. And if you have to buy local. Buy local. Y'all have to hit them where it hurt with your black dollars so it can make sense. Stay tuned up next for the front porch with Graylin and Kimber. I'm Dr. Ashanta White. This is a Good Morning Show. I'll see y'all next time. This is WBOK 1230 AM, what New Orleans is talking about all day long.